Three Kingdoms. Opening marriage to Cai Wenji Introduction. Traveling through the late Eastern Han Dynasty, he became the short-lived Wei Zhongdao. In order to avoid any regrets, on the last day of my life, I had a deep exchange with Cai Yan and realized that my way of dominating the Three Kingdoms was a bit off. Chapter 1. Shi Ti's 5-day tour of the Eastern Han Dynasty. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, in the first year of Chu Ping, which is 190 AD. Hedong County, Wei Prefecture. Cough. Cough, cough, cough. Husband, husband. Cai Wenji, who had been serving by the bed for nearly half a year, immediately shouted loudly when she heard Wei Zhongdao's severe cough. Hurry up and call Dr. Hua. Since she married into the Wei family, Wei Zhongdao, who was originally in good health, suddenly fell seriously ill. A few months later, I was unable to get out of bed. Even the day before, I was unconscious. Even though Huaxiong, who was already famous all over the world, shook his head frequently when facing Wei Zhongdao. Only Cai Wenji remained by her side, never giving up or leaving. Even if the members of the Wei family were to point behind her, they silently endured. A soul was pulled by a strong force and pulled into Wei Zhongdao's body. What is the situation? Why did it suddenly turn black? Don't delay my water attendants. At this moment, a strange voice appeared in Wei Zhongdao's mind. Where is this? Why did I come here even though I was still coding? Not right. I am charging while drinking water. Coding. Then there was an electrical leakage. Wei Zhongdao suddenly opened his eyes and gasped for breath, with a lot of cold sweat on his face. Husband. You finally woke up. A soft and excited voice came into Wei Zhongdao's ear. Some are familiar, while others are unfamiliar. Husband. This title seems to have only been heard in costume dramas. Just my head was a bit confused, and before I could react, my gaze was drawn. In front of me, 2 lines of tears appeared on the face of a young girl, shining brightly. A faint smile squeezed out of her tired face. Before he could taste the person in front of him, a memory began to flood into Wei Zhongdao's mind. The intense pain made Wei Zhongdao keep patting his head. Husband. Don't do this. Cai Wenji held Wei Zhongdao in her arms, preventing him from hitting his head. Fortunately, the pain passed in just a few breaths. The memories of this body before also integrated into Wei Yuan's mind. I have actually traveled, I am Wei Zhongdao. A perfect start, the Wei family is a wealthy family in Hedong. In the Eastern Han Dynasty, he was also a local tyrant, and with a deep understanding of history and being under the tutelage of Prime Minister Chao, his future prospects were bound to be limitless in the coming decades. Watching Wei Zhongdao, he sometimes giggled foolishly and sometimes muttered to himself. Cai Wenji, who had read a lot of poetry, also felt a bit flustered. What is Prime Minister Chao? Now there is only Dong Xianghua. Is there something wrong with your husband's mind? At the thought of this, Cai Wenji anxiously leaned closer to Wei Yuan, hoping to make him quiet. So soft, good glutinous rice, I can't breathe anymore. It wasn't until there was a little old man in the room that Wei Yuan was forced to leave the soft pillow. Dr. Hua, my husband is awake. Take a look, is it almost over? Cai Wenji was quick-witted and quickly got up from bed, saying to Huaxiong. Huaxiong didn't speak, just looked left and right, constantly checking. His next words made Cai Wenji and Wei Yuan, who were still in joy, dumbfounded. Because of the sudden awakening of Wei Zhongdao, the head of the Wei family, Wei Yuan's brother, Wei Yi, arrived as soon as possible. My dear nephew, forgive me for speaking bluntly. This is a sign of a comeback. The second young master may not live for 5 days, so he should prepare for the aftermath. After speaking, Huaxiong quickly left and disappeared into the crowd. Fuck me. What's the situation? Am I not a traveler? Shouldn't I be the chosen one? Why would they still die? Wei Yuan couldn't believe it. He wanted to mention the 5-day tour of the Eastern Han Dynasty. Binding the Red Beauty System. Host. Wei Zhongdao, remaining life. 5 days. At this moment, an illusory light curtain appeared in front of Wei Zhongdao. The countdown of 5 days is clearly displayed above, while the time is gradually decreasing. For days, 23 hours, 57 minutes, is the system large? Is the system large? I want to live. Wei Zhongdao silently inquired in his heart. This system can use beauty points to enhance the host's ability and assist the host in dominating in turbulent times to claim glory. I just want to live now. I just traveled through time. You have to give a beginner a big gift package like other protagonists. A lifespan of 5 days is a great gift for beginners to give to the host. Please cherish it. Hello. How can I earn points? You also need a beginner's tutorial. Afterwards, no matter how Wei Zhongdao shouted, there was no systematic response. Sisters and sisters, let's go through mourning and change. Huaxiong is a renowned doctor in the world. If even he cannot cure him, it is also the fate of Zhongdao. These days, I will handle the affairs in the mansion. You can accompany Zhongdao. Well, after Wei Yi finished speaking, he left the room with the other relatives. Wei Yuan looked at Cai Yan, who was lowered in silence, and the originally calm light curtain once again gave a hint. Beauty object. Cai Yan favorite rating. 80, special skill 1. Sad and sorrowful sounds, which increase the host's physical strength through the fluctuation of the rhythm, special skill 2. Ceiling, faced with the prompt from the light curtain, Wei Yuan's body shook violently. There is a feeling of a village with hidden willows and bright flowers. However, this joy quickly disappeared, even if the golden finger was powerful. Only the last 5 days. Master, don't listen to Huatuo's words. You have finally woken up. This is a great joy. Cai Wenji wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes and smiled. The elegant scent on his body made Wei Yuan, a single dog with a 20-year-old mother, unable to help but take a deep breath. Yenner, sit closer, I want to smell it again. Upon hearing these words, Cai Wenji's face turned red. But as soon as I thought it was a request from my husband before his death, I didn't refuse. He leaned forward with his body. A little closer. A little closer. This scent has a thick ink, and looking for the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com has added more delicate girls. Wei Yuan's nose unexpectedly pressed against Cai Wenji's ear. The heat exhaled by Wei Yuan shook the dignified Cai Wenji's body. The blush on the face has spread to the roots of the ears. My husband, you're making me itch so much. With her small hands gripping her clothes, Cai Wenji's voice was as gentle as a mosquito's sound. Intimate actions from later generations gave Cai Wenji a brand new experience. Favorite rating. 81. The sudden reminder slowed down the rhythm of Wei Yuan's fragrance. Has your favorability improved? But there are still no beauty points. Wei Yuan sighed, the ups and downs of life are too great. Before enjoying the joy of just crossing, I heard bad news. Looking at the beauty in front of her, the experiences of the past 6 months have made this talented woman of the Eastern Han Dynasty haggard. Even though she suffered from the cold looks of her family, she did not shake her belief in taking care of herself. When Wei Yuan thought about Cai Wenji's tragic experience in the future, having served 3 husbands throughout her life, his heart was filled with sadness. The first marriage was to marry the Wei family in Hedong, Wei Yan Wei Zhongdao. However, within a year of getting married, Wei Zhongdao passed away early. In the second marriage, the southern Xiongnu took advantage of the turmoil of the Eastern Han Dynasty and raided Kanto, becoming slaves to the left prince. The third marriage was redeemed by Cao Cao for a large sum of money, but for some reason, the wife's demonic palm was betrothed to Dong Si, who despised her. Since I have traveled through time, even if I have only been married for 5 days, I have to change your tragic fate. Yenner, don't comfort me anymore. Since heaven has given me these last 5 days, I will cherish the days that accompany you. Wei Yuan squeezed out a smile and reached out to embrace Cai Wenji. Chapter 2. Yenner, I want to change your destiny for you. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Yenner, I want to visit my father. In law. Go pack your luggage. Wei Yuan's words made Cai Wenji, who had been silent all along, feel a chill. Returning to Luoyang, this was already planned by Cai Wenji in her heart. The only relationship between herself and the Wei family is Wei Zhongdao in front of her. As soon as her husband dies, she will immediately return home. No longer in this Wei family, bear the insults of Kefu and the discussions behind it. Although doing so would be prohibited by etiquette and law, and punished by my father Cai Yong. But once it's your husband who takes you back to Luoyang, the situation will be very different. Cai Wenji looked up at Wei Yuan, her red lips lightly parted, and she hesitated to speak. Yenner, what's wrong? Don't you want me to go visit my father? In law. Cai Wenji smiled. My husband laughed and said, Yenner is very happy. As he spoke, he was about to leave the bed. But he was grabbed by Wei Yuan with one hand. Yenner, get closer. My husband noticed that your hair accessories are a bit messy. Just as Cai Wenji was skeptical, Wei Yuan couldn't help but leave his own mark on his red lips. Upon hearing the host's idea of bringing her home, Cai Wenji's gloomy mood was relieved. Favorite rating 85. This kiss caught Cai Wenji off guard. Even on the day of their wedding, they only treated each other with respect. Hurry up and prepare. I'll set off today if you want. A pat on Cai Wenji's perky buttocks made her blush and she hurriedly ran out of the room. Wei Yuan took a deep breath, supported the bed, and stood up. This body is really weak, it's even more uncomfortable than Aryang. Amidst the scorching sun outside, Wei Yuan still walked out wearing a long robe. Big brother, Zhongdao wants to take Yenner to Luoyang. Falling leaves and returning to roots is the desired outcome for people of any era. Wei Yi, who was reading in the study, heard the dying brother's final request. I can only reluctantly agree. I also prepared more than 10 family guards for Wei Yuan to escort along the way. Although Hedong County is not far from Luoyang, it only takes 3 or 4 days by carriage. Despite experiencing the Yellow Turban Rebellion, there were still bandits along the way. Even so, Wei Yuan could not return to the Wei family alive no matter what. Before leaving, Wei Yi looked at his only brother with tears in his eyes. This farewell may be forever. The carriage creaked forward, with Wei Yuan, Cai Yan, and the maid Xiaohuan in the carriage, their eyes facing each other. In the carriage, a refreshing fragrance quickly permeated the heart. Yenner, don't frown anymore, it won't be beautiful anymore. Besides, when I return home like this, my father. In law will blame me. Holding Cai Wenji in his arms, Wei Yuan joked. No way, Dad must be very happy to see you. But, husband, if you're halfway there, let Yenner go on her own. Yenner is afraid. Cai Yan didn't say anything further. He only had a lifespan of 5 days, which was the biggest burden on them and couldn't be shaken away. What are you afraid of? To live a day is to enjoy it. Since Dr. Huaxiong can live for at least 5 days as a husband, he must make good use of these 5 days as a husband. Wei Yuan also realized that everything was treated as a dream. I, who should have died from an electric shock, can now live an extra 5 days with a beautiful woman by my side. What else is necessary to lament the injustice in the world? It's better to use my identity as a time traveler to change Cai Yan's life. This year, Dong Zhuo decided to move the capital to Chang'an, marking the beginning of the chaotic era of the Han Dynasty. The southern Xiongnu went south, and Cai Wenji was forced to become a slave. Wei Yuan knew deeply that with his current self, he was powerless to stop the trend, but it was still possible to change a person's fate. As long as you personally escort Cai Yan back to Cai Yong's side and follow Dong Zhuo's army, at least your life is at risk. Listening to Wei Zhongdao's words, Cai Yan leaned his head against his shoulder. Idle and boring, Yener, come up with a plaything for my husband to pass the time. You can also promote this thing in the future, at least you can live a worry-free life. Upon hearing the toy, Xiaohuan suddenly became interested. My eyes lit up. Young master, what kind of plaything is it? Wei Yuan smiled and pointed to the bamboo slips beside him. Xiaohuan, break down the bamboo slips into pieces. Yener, carve 1 to 13 and 4 different shapes on bamboo slips. Both of them looked at each other, unheard of Wei Yuan's actions. However, Cai Yan had already made up her mind that for the last 5 days, no matter what Wei Yuan had requested, she would fulfill it. Although bamboo slips are still rare in this era. But as soon as I heard Wei Zhongdao, he was still thinking for himself, and his research was also aimed at making himself famous in the future. A wave of warmth in his heart urged Xiaohuan to quickly dismantle the bamboo slips. Bamboo slips scattered on the ground one by one. Wei Yuan picked up a carving knife, stacked 2 bamboo slips together, and vigorously chiseled them. The long bamboo slips are split in half. Holding it in hand, very agile. Yener, slow down when engraving, don't hurt your hands. Wei Yuan cautioned that this engraving was too difficult for him. Especially when it comes to carving characters on bare bamboo slips, it's even more difficult. Cai Yan smiled and placed the bamboo slips on the special wooden box, fixing them left and right. You're really sick and confused. How could you directly carve characters with your hands? After speaking, he knew he had made a mistake, with an apologetic expression in his eyes. Wei Yuan focused his attention on the bamboo slips, completely ignoring them. Sure enough, it's clever. In this way, you don't have to worry about the bamboo slips running around. Cai Yan collected his energy and held the carving knife, the tip of which kept moving on the 3-finger-thick bamboo slips. Sometimes curved, sometimes straight. There were more and more sawdust on the bamboo slips, but Cai Yan did not receive any impact. Finally, give a gentle blow with your small mouth. Wei Yuan couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. One character appears on the bamboo slips. Husband, what shape do you need to carve? Wei Yuan glanced at the thin veil on Cai Yan's body and his eyes changed. Chrysanthemum, plum, bamboo, and orchid. I wonder if Yener can make them. Feeling the scorching gaze of Wei Yuan, Cai Yan's ears turned red when he went to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. The voice lowered a bit and twisted. Husband. Don't be joking. Although Xiaohuan is my personal servant, this personal item. I can't say it out loud, let alone carve it out. Wei Yuan was shocked. I haven't touched anything close to me yet. Do you have any memories of Wei Zhongdao before? What a waste. Then engrave these shapes to distinguish them. As he spoke, Wei Yuan extended his finger and drew 4 shapes in Cai Wenji's palm. Square, red peach, plum blossom, and spade. Feeling the intimate movements of the host, Cai Wenji felt very happy. Favorite rating. 90. Wei Yuan completely ignored the prompts from the light curtain. But I looked carefully at Cai Wenji, at her profile, at her delicate jade hands, and at her every frown and smile. The carriage was traveling rapidly on the official road, and in just 3 days, it had arrived at the largest city of the Eastern Han Dynasty. Luoyang. Just because the 18 feudal lords gathered at Xuanzhou, the guards in Luoyang were obviously much stricter. The young master of the Hedong Wei family is in the car, please move away quickly. The servants of the Wei family, as usual, shouted loudly at the defending Western Liang army. But this is not Hedong County, and the other party is not an ordinary soldier either. Wei's family. I've never heard of it before. Stop this carriage for someone and search carefully. "General, I suspect there are traitor spies in this car." The noise outside the car caught Wei Yuan's attention and he lifted the car curtain. I saw a burly man holding a mountain axe, standing in opposition to the Wei family's servants. Huaxiong. Chapter 3. The second mighty general of the Western Liang Dynasty. Huaxiong. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Although Wei Yuan's voice was small, it caught the attention of Huaxiong. Oh. I actually know General. It seems quite insightful. Huaxiong's answer undoubtedly affirmed Wei Yuan's judgment. This second fierce general of the Western Liang, the sharpening stone of Guan Eryi, was looking up and down at Wei Yuan. Then he showed a disdainful gaze and cut. Don't compensate General Hua yet. This is General Huaxiong, who is famous in Liangzhou. You are still alive at this moment, and you should be grateful for General Hua's magnanimity. Wei Yuan shouted at his opponent. Despite being scolded, it actually gave Huaxiong enough face. The second fierce general of Xiliang. Huaxiong himself doesn't even know when he got this name. Wait. Not right. Why am I second? I don't know if your excellency is. Wei Yuan's subtle flattery did indeed coax Huaxiong's attitude. In the east of Xia, Wei Yuan, Wei Zhongdao. This is my humble wife, Cai Yan and Cai Wenji. This time I am returning to Luoyang to pay my respects to my father. In law Cai Zhonglang. Wei Yuan walked slowly off the carriage, clasped his fists and saluted, talking about his own background. Although Huaxiong is a tiger, he is not foolish. He is not capable of fighting against either the Hedong Wei family or the left Zhonglang general. Especially Cai Yong and Cai Boji, this was personally bound by the Prime Minister, not right, it was a famous scholar invited from within the country. Just been appointed as the left middle general, he is a great figure in front of the Prime Minister. Huaxiong was frightened and gave a deep bow. It turned out to be the son-in-law of General Zhonglang, but Huaxiong almost did something wrong. Alas, General, why say this? Guarding the city gate is the responsibility, and this is still a matter of some lack of discipline. The general will not abandon, and once someone is ready to tidy up, he will invite the general to the mansion for a chat. I have great respect for people from Xiliang. When Wei Yuan thought about moving the capital to Chang'an in the future, the Western Liang army was the only main force that could protect the Cai Yan family. I had the idea of befriending Huaxiong, which would at least make him pay more attention to the Cai family and prevent the tragedy of Cai Yan being abducted by the Xiongnu. The most willing, the most willing. The residence of General Zhonglang, Brother Wei only needs to walk 500 steps into the city and turn right to see it. Upon hearing these words, Huaxiong was overjoyed and actively guided the way. Until Wei Yuan returned to the carriage, Cai Yan looked at him curiously. Husband, on weekdays, you have never had a good impression of those martial artists. They are all a group of crude warriors. Why has there been a big change in attitude today? Wei Yuan was taken aback and placed Cai Yan's hand in his arms. Being a husband is just a premonition, and there may be a huge change in Luoyang. A strong general of the Western Liang army can at least protect Yenner's safety. After all, even a husband cannot take care of you for a lifetime. Wei Yuan spoke calmly and had no fear of the last 2 days. Everything is like fleeting clouds and smoke. Cai Yan leaned against his shoulder, his body trembling incessantly. Xiao Huan's hand, which was still playing with bamboo slips, stopped and lowered its head. All right, Yenner, don't cry. We should be happy to see your father-in-law later. How about performing a magic trick for your husband? Upon hearing this, Cai Yan finally put away his sad mood and wiped away his tears. What is magic? A trick is to perform using the poker bamboo slips we've made along the way. Speaking, Wei Yuan held a stack of poker bamboo slips in his hand. This technique of deceiving young girls in later generations has been repeatedly tried by Wei Yuan. Although the bamboo was a bit thicker, it still acted lightly for Cai Yan, who had never seen the world before. "Yener, just take out any one and I can guess what kind of pattern is engraved on it. The young master is deceiving people again, how could he possibly see it, unless the young master knows immortal techniques?" Xiao Huan pouted in disbelief. "Pick up a bamboo slip and turn your back to Wei Yuan." Square piece 5. Wei Yuan only glanced at the bamboo slip and immediately said. Xiao Huan's eyes were round and full of disbelief. Cai Yan looked at Xiao Huan and leaned in. She didn't believe her husband knew magic, especially when Wei Yuan just glanced and casually said it. Only Dao was intentionally done by the husband to ease the atmosphere. Until Cai Yan saw the square piece he had personally carved. Surprised, he covered his red lips with his hand, and his shocked expression was evident. "Husband. Husband, you really guessed right. Absolutely lucky, absolutely lucky." Wei Yuan smiled and pointed to the poker bamboo slip in his hand. "Yener, if you don't believe it, you can try again." After 5 consecutive attempts, Cai Yan and Xiao Huan have completely taken it. "Young master, you really know magic. Otherwise, how could it have been guessed correctly continuously? Husband, since you know magic, why not treat your own illness?" For a moment, 2 women surrounded Wei Yuan, chattering incessantly. "It's not really magic, it's magic, but it's just a skill." Wei Yuan's truthful disclosure was also directly ignored by Cai Yan. The carriage came to a stop. "Young master, young grandmother, the Cai mansion has arrived." Wei Yuan took Cai Yan's hand and walked into Cai's mansion. Because it was a sudden decision, Cai Yong was unaware. Until seeing Cai Yan, who had been raised for more than 10 years, he really walked up to him. Cai Yong's eyes suddenly moistened and he said 3 good things in a row. Holding Wei Yuan with one hand and Cai Yan with the other, he walked into the inner room. "Zhongdao, have you recovered from your illness?" "Dad. My husband only has 1 day left." Cai Yan lowered his head, bit his lips, and revealed the truth. Cai Yong was taken aback for a moment, and the smile on his face disappeared. "What? Is Huaxiong also helpless? He is a renowned doctor in the world. My father. In law, every man is bound to die. Either heavier than Mount Tai or lighter than a feather. Even if Zhongdao only has 1 day, he must protect Yan Air." Well, Cai Yong nodded. "However, Zhongdao is guilty of your instructions and cannot continue to protect Yener. Now, sending Yener back is Zhongdao's final compensation. Zhongdao Temple and Luoyang will be in chaos, and it is feared that the court will soon move its capital. In the future, your father. In law can go and seek refuge with Chao Mengde to ensure your and Yener's lifelong safety." Wei Yuan knelt in front of Cai Yong, revealing the future situation. "In the next 30 or even 50 years. As long as you wait until the end of the Guandu War, you can find the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com and follow Cao Cao to have peace of mind." Upon hearing Wei Yuan's words, Cai Yong was momentarily taken aback and quickly signaled for Wei Yuan to shut up. "Zhongdao, be cautious when speaking. Relocating the capital is a major national event, let alone today's Han Dynasty." Cai Yong didn't say anything more, but said to Cai Wenji. "Yener, hurry up and take Zhongdao with you to rest." Wei Yuan wanted to say more, but was pulled away by Cai Yan. She knows her father very well, and Wei Yuan can say anything, only a big man cannot insult him. "Husband, don't blame your father." Wei Yuan shook his head and thought to himself, this is the loyalty of literati. "Don't worry, Yener, I'm just worried about you." Wei Yuan wanted to say more, but was covered by Cai Yan's jade finger on his lips. "Husband, don't say anything else tonight. Yener just wants to spend a good time with you. This night, the winding paths lead to seclusion. That night, the willows are dark and the flowers are bright, creating another village." That night, Wei Yuan finally completed his transformation. "Is Yener still a virgin?" Wei Yuan felt the difference in touch and was surprised. Can't Wei Zhongdao, this guy. Let Cai Wenji experience the joy of fish and water, and increase intimacy, beauty object. Cai Yan, favorite rating. 100, special skill 1. Sad and sorrowful sounds, which slow down the host's physical energy consumption rate through the fluctuation of the rhythm, special skill 2. Blowing the whistle on the plug, Cai Wenji's melody is perfect, which can extend the host's life by 1 day each time. Wei Yuan lay in bed, looking at the light curtains prompts and laughed. The haze in my heart swept away. Turns out I couldn't find the way to use red beauty. Chapter 4, Chapter 2, Special Skills. Blowing on the stopper. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the excited expression could no longer be concealed, and in his eyes, Cai Yan beside him was already a priceless treasure. Husband, are you feeling unwell? Why did you wake up so early? Cai Yan's sleep was very light because she had to take care of Wei Yuan, so she hardly slept a whole night this year. Yenner, it seems that Wei Fu's body is full of strength. It's still early now, isn't it? Wei Yuan couldn't resist the excitement in his heart and knelt down, pressing Cai Yan under his body. Husband. Cai Yan was startled by Wei Yuan's actions and wanted to speak up to stop him. However, Wei Yuan proved through his actions that he was not the same as before when he was suffering from illness. Cai Yan closed his eyes contentedly, enjoying the pleasure of only the moment of his wedding. How did your husband become so brave? Is this a reflection of my husband's past? Never mind, we cannot let our husband leave any regrets. Cai Yan's little brain has only a little rationality left. Instead, he lifted his buttocks slightly, catering to Wei Yuan's posture, allowing him to relax a bit. Host. Wei Yuan, remaining life. 2 days, beauty points. 2 points, to complete the task. Wei Yuan was pleasantly surprised to see the change in the light curtain. This is actually true. Yenner, I'm here. Cai Yan had already surrendered at this moment. No matter how resourceful she was, she couldn't imagine that her husband, who had been suffering from illness, would have such energy. The brain only leaves one thought, that is, it cannot make the husband regret in this life. 7 times a night, this is a fabrication in the novel. Wei Yuan watched as his lifespan turned into 4 days, and finally collapsed into Cai Yan's arms, feeling physically exhausted. Luoyang, Dong Mansion. Dong Zhuo and his strategist Li Ru were constantly discussing a war report. When Xiao Mao dares to repay his grievances with virtue, openly rebelling and infuriating me. Not long ago, many prefects and governors responded. What should I do? Li Ru held a black feather fan and squinted his eyes into a line, calmly answering. Don't worry, Prime Minister. No matter how powerful the power in the Kanto region may be, as long as our Western Liang army guards Hulao Pass, Luoyang will be safe and sound. The Western Liang army, which has been following Dong Zhuo for decades, has a large number of soldiers. Su Rong, Li Gui, Guosi, Lv Bu, Huaxiong and other fierce generals of the Western Liang dynasty were all in power. There are also hundreds of thousands of Xiliang iron cavalry, which are awe-inspiring in China. But this group of people is coming with great force, and we feel a bit helpless. It's better to move the capital to Chang'an, which is closer to our Xiliang. This is Dong Zhuo's first hesitation, as he has been dominating the officialdom for decades, almost effortlessly. Abolish the Shao Emperor, establish a new ruler, and take over Luoyang. In just a few months, Dong Zhuo transformed from a feudal lord to a powerful prime minister. It also made him start to worry about gains and losses. The prime minister was too concerned and decided to move the capital. That would be the last resort. Now, all we need to do is to let Su Rong and Lv Bu stand firm at the Tiger Prison Pass. So the Guangdong United Army is just like a collapsed tile dog, Li Ru explained again, as if hundreds of thousands of Canto allied forces had already been annihilated under his arrangement. After hearing this, Dong Zhuo became even more uneasy. With his own strength, could he really fight against the entire Canto clan? When you pass on my command to Su Rong to lead 100,000 iron cavalry to Hulao Pass. Remember, he is only allowed to defend the city and cannot easily enter. After repeated instructions, Dong Zhuo stood up and left the Prime Minister's mansion, walking towards Cai Yong's mansion. Husband. Yenner's body is a bit inconvenient. Cai Yan's delicate voice made Wei Yuan's bones tingle. A touch of rosy blush added to her fair face, making her skin even tighter. Last night's turmoil made this talented woman who had read poetry and books unable to resist. Yenner has a good rest, so I'll go and greet my father-in-law first. Wei Yuan felt relaxed all over, without any trace of fatigue. Even the legs didn't feel any discomfort. Husband. Husband, don't leave. Yenner is afraid. Cai Yan sat up urgently and reached out to grab Wei Yuan's arm. How powerful is your husband's arm? If it were yesterday, a weak woman like Cai Yan could have pulled Wei Yuan down. But now, with a gentle pull, Wei Yuan broke free from Cai Yan's hand. What is Yenner afraid of? Why is my husband okay? But Dr. Hua once said today. It's already the 5th day. The countdown of 5 days has been enveloping the heads of Cai Yan and Wei Yuan. Wei Yuan chuckled. Yenner, it's a shame that you have read a lot of poetry and books. Don't you know that blessings and misfortunes depend on each other? Did I not prove to you last night that my husband's health has improved? Cai Yan's face instantly turned red, and his big eyes were full of doubt. My husband was indeed different last night, except for a slight fatigue the first time. Afterwards, one wave is worth another. My eyes suddenly became bright. Surprised, he said. Husband. Could it be that your body is really good? Wei Yuan held his chin and looked at Cai Yan. If Yenner can serve every day, I believe that this illness can recover faster. Cai Yan blushed with embarrassment at Wei Yuan's words. Pinched the inside of Wei Yuan's thigh. Begging to fight. You should go out quickly. I still need to rest. However, the joy on his face could no longer be suppressed. My husband has been saved. Wei Yuan walked into the courtyard and saw Cai Yong dancing his sword. One move per move, fast but not chaotic, stable but not stiff. It seems like the whole person has merged with this sword. It's Zhongdao. Get up early and it's cold. You should go back to your house as soon as possible. Yenner, I don't know if I can add you some clothes. After a while, Cai Yong withdrew his long sword and only then noticed Wei Yuan watching from the side. What? Looking at Wei Yuan, he said in confusion. Zhaoshuyuan.com, Zhongdao, are you feeling unwell? Wei Yuan quickly bowed. Zhongdao has seen his father-in-law, and the boy's health has improved a lot. Cai Yong walked up to Wei Yuan, crossed his wrist and sounded his pulse, amazed. Strangely, although I am not a doctor, I have also read many medical books. Your body is completely different from yesterday, it's really strange. The pulse is stable and powerful, almost healthier than a normal person. Could it be that Zhongdao couldn't eat the elixir? Wei Yuan smiled awkwardly. I can't say your daughter is a fairy pill, can I? It's strange to say that since the kid met his father-in-law. I feel refreshed and a stream of positive energy flowing into my head. After a moment of sleep, I only felt that my limbs were full of strength. I think it must be my father-in-law's credit. This obvious flattery has greatly benefited the renowned scholar Cai Yong. Oh. Is that really true? It seems that the teachings of Confucius and Mencius can also cure diseases and save lives. Just as they were talking, a figure had already walked into Cai's mansion. Brother Boji, Brother Boji. A strong Shangxi accent spread from the front hall to the backyard. Cai Yong's expression suddenly changed, and as he spoke, he pushed Wei Yuan into the room. Zhongdao, hurry up, Dong Zhuo has come to find me. If he finds out about you, the Hedong Wei family will also be dragged down by him. Without giving Wei Yuan an opportunity to explain, he closed the door. Cai Yong paid respects to the Prime Minister. I don't know why the Prime Minister came early this morning. Cai Yong hurriedly took a few steps and welcomed Dong Zhuo. And Wei Yuan looked out through the crack in the door at Dong Zhuo, the man who had begun the chaotic era of the Eastern Han Dynasty. Chapter 5. Farewell to Tang Ji. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Bojia, the Guangdong United Army has assembled at Swanzhou. I would like to ask for your opinion on how to handle it. Dong Zhuo came straight to the point, finished speaking, and looked at Cai Yong. The roll of the 18 marquises has finally arrived. Wei Yuan, who was eavesdropping on the side, was not surprised. On the contrary, there is some excitement. 18 feudal lords fighting against Dong, this is the first major battle of the Three Kingdoms. There are also many heroes of the Three Kingdoms here. As a traveler, he naturally knows the direction of the future. Killing Emperor Liu Bian, relocating the capital to Chang'an, excavating Emperor Wu's mausoleum, and a series of divine operations. Let Dong Zhuo's Tianhu start and die suddenly. It also made the once shaky man completely lose the possibility of a final comeback. Wei Yuan doesn't care whether the future is the Great Han or the Three Kingdoms. The only thing that matters the most is his wife Cai Yan. Because the fate of myself and Cai Yan is closely linked due to the beauty system. Xianghua, is this matter serious? How dare the 18 marquises openly raise an army? Cai Yong couldn't believe it. Although the Han dynasty was declining, the prefects from all over the country couldn't raise their armies. Humph, now 7 groups of people have gathered in the Sour Jujube. Boji, you are still too idealistic, those unruly officials and thieves. One by one, they wish to kill us and covet our position as Prime Minister. So, we want to move the capital, what do you think? In the room, Cai Yan, at some point, leaned against Wei Yuan's back and held him tightly with both hands. Husband, what are you eavesdropping on? Don't make a fuss, Dong Zhuo is coming to find his father. In law, I'm afraid the big Han will be in chaos. Cai Yan skillfully played with his small hands, causing Wei Yuan's legs to tighten. Husband, your changes in the past few days have made Yener a bit unrecognizable. Yesterday, you said you wanted to move the capital and even asked your father to seek refuge with brother Mengda. He is a prisoner of honor. Cai Yan was puzzled and said. Don't daydream, it's just that this illness is like a dream. My husband seems to have walked the long river of history. Wei Yuan picked up Cai Yan and ignored the conversation between Dong Zhuo and Cai Yong. It's nothing more than moving the capital and killing the young emperor. Yener, please advise your father. In law to draw a line with Dong Zhuo as soon as possible. Without any worries about his life, Wei Yuan began to plan for his future. Dong Zhuo's muddy water must never flow, otherwise Cai Yong will definitely be implicated. Perhaps due to some ulterior motives, this time Wei Yuan hastily resolved the matter and extended his lifespan by another day. Beauty points. 6 points. Just poor Cai Yan, with his hard-recovered stamina, once again overdrawn. Husband, you don't understand. Dad is not for Dong Zhuo, but for Han. By the way, I think there is someone who, if asked to come forward, would definitely make Dad change his mind. Let's go to the palace later, and take you to see my sisters, Tang Ji. Cai Yan's eyes lit up and he had an idea. Ignoring his tired body, he urged Wei Yuan to change his clothes and enter the palace to face the Holy Spirit. Jia, Cai Yong and Dong Zhuo disappeared from sight at some point. Wei Yuan shook his head and said that he had just been too invested. Yener, can you enter and exit the palace freely? Cai Yan smiled. Of course not, but Sister Tang Ji doesn't live in the palace now. We can go in. Wei Yuan also became interested. Who is Tang Ji? Lu Bian's wife. She is also a charming and beautiful woman. The two of them sat on the carriage, snuggling tightly together. Wei Yuan also took some time to check the effect of the beauty points. Beauty points can be used to open the beauty treasure chest. The red treasure chest is divided into 1 point for green normal, 10 points for blue rare, 100 points for red epic, 1000 points for golden legend, and special channels for white limited. As for what can be opened from each treasure chest, Wei Yuan has not found the answer. According to the game's routine, the higher the level, the better the product. These are all accumulated through my own hard work. Target Epic Treasure Chest. Yenner, thank you for your hard work. Wei Yuan felt a bit embarrassed. Husband. Cai Yan reached out his jade finger and pressed it against Wei Yuan's mouth, gently shaking his head. It was all Yenner's fault that caused her husband to fall ill for several months. In the future, Yenner will serve her husband well and compensate him. Cai Yan felt deeply that he had not taken good care of Wei Yuan, and aspired to spend the rest of his life with Wei Yuan, which increased his favorability. However, on the screen of light, Cai Yan's portrait is no longer of ordinary texture. Instead, there was an additional layer of silver light. Beauty Object. Cai Yan Favorite Rating. Silver Star 20, Special Skill 1. Sad and sorrowful sounds, which increase the host's physical strength through the fluctuation of the rhythm, Special Skill 2. Blowing the whistle on the plug, Cai Wenji's melody is perfect, which can prolong the host's life by 2 days each time. Wei Yuan's eyes lit up and he was so excited that he almost screamed. It's nothing. Cough. Wei Yuan awkwardly scratched his head and changed the topic. Yenner, how did you get to know Tang Ji? In history, there is no intersection between the two of them. Sister Tang Ji is the daughter of Tang Mao, the governor of Kuaiji, and Tang Mao was initially under his father's command, so we got to know each other well. I haven't seen Tang Ji since she entered the palace. Now, she is implicated by the deposed Shao emperor, and I'm afraid she doesn't even have a confidant around her, Cai Yan said with regret. The two of them once sympathized with each other, but now Cai Yan's husband has recovered. But Tang Ji's husband is already on the brink of life and death. Watching Cai Yan being sentimental, Wei Yuan hugged her even tighter. He knew the ending of Lu Bian and was forced to drink poisoned wine by the middle-aged man Li Ru. But this ending, he cannot say. After a burn of incense, the carriage stopped by the roadside. Wei Yuan and Cai Yan were both surprised. Although the Hongnong prince's mansion is located next to the imperial city, its scale is not even comparable to Cai Yong's mansion. There are only 2 soldiers guarding the entrance. Could you please inform me that Wei Zhongdao from Hedong, along with his wife Cai Wenji, went to the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com to pay respects to Princess Hongnong. Wei Yuan approached and took out his usual money, stuffing it into the hands of a soldier. The soldier's expression of disgust immediately underwent a 180-degree transformation. But Cai Zhonglang's uncle. Exactly. The soldier specifically glanced at Cai Yan, his eyes straight. Cough. Wei Yuan coughed in displeasure, blocking the sight of the soldiers. Please come in, Princess Hongnong is inside the mansion. The soldiers also realized their impoliteness and quickly made way, lowering their heads and not daring to look around. Sister Tang Ji. Cai Yan took a few steps and saw Tang Ji dancing in the yard. The red long sleeves were in Tang Ji's hand, as if there was life. Sometimes it turns into a water snake winding around in the air. Sometimes it transforms into a lucky cloud and floats around my waist. Dance a song. Cai Yan has already applauded. Sister Tang Ji's dance moves became more and more beautiful. I really make my little sister envious. Tang Ji was surprised and then gave a faint smile. Sister Wenji is joking. Even if I dance well, what will happen? His Highness sigh. I haven't left my room for months. Speaking, looking towards the dim room. By the way, Sister Tang Ji, this is the important husband, Wei Yanwei from Hedong. Cai Yan saw Tang Ji like this and began to introduce him to Wei Yuan. Chen Wei Yuan, pay respects to the queen. Wei Yuan did not kneel down, but bowed with an arched hand. It was precisely the sound of Wei Yuan that suddenly opened a tightly closed door. But the descendants of Wei Qing. Chapter 6. Do both of you brothers know the dress code? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. A young yet powerless voice came from the room. Upon hearing this, Tang Ji's face showed a surprised expression and quickly ran over. Your Highness, Your Highness. Get lost. A disheveled and unkempt young man, without any pity for her, pushed Tang Ji away directly. Colliding with the steps, blood stains appeared on the snow-white calves. Instead, he took 3 steps and 2 steps in front of Wei Yuan. Wei Yuan and Cai Yan were both surprised. Is this the former young emperor? Why are you like a beggar now? However, Wei Yuan ignored Lu Bian and with a clasp of his hands, he threw him aside. Help Tang Ji, who is crying on the ground, up. Say disdainfully to Lu Bian. Even if you don't cherish the person you love, even if you leave the land of the Han Dynasty to you, it won't get better. A little setback will knock you down, and you won't succeed either. Wei Yuan's 2 words were simply a slap in the face. Although Lu Bian was deposed, he was also the king of Hongnong and the older brother of the current emperor. No one dares to openly criticize yet. Only Wei Yuan, this traveler. Because knowing the outcome of Lu Bian, there is no doubt that he will die, but he is fearless. In Wei Yuan's plan, leaving Luoyang is just a matter of the past few days. Otherwise, once Dongzhuo decides to move the capital, he can't even leave if he wants to. Your Highness, spare your life. My husband doesn't mean that husband. Why don't you apologize soon? Cai Yan was startled and quickly knelt down. He fiercely tugged at Wei Yuan's pants legs and made him kneel down as well. Lu Bian, who was beaten to the ground, laughed heartily. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Since being abandoned, there are finally people who think of loneliness. I can't even cherish my beloved, why talk about honoring our ancestors? Wei Qing, you are the pillar of the Han Dynasty. Tang Ji ignored the broken calf and wanted to help Lu Bian up. Ai Fei, it's because I missed you alone, it's because I hurt you alone. Lu Bian waved his hand and then said to Wei Yuan, Wei Qing, how should we revitalize the Han Dynasty? Wei Yuan originally intended to leave by patting his buttocks, but staying in the Hongnong prince's mansion for too long would inevitably attract the attention of Dongzhuo and the court officials. But looking at Lu Bian, he didn't get angry at all. Instead, he asked himself for advice and said, now that the Han Dynasty is on the brink of collapse, there is only one way to revitalize it. What way? Lu Bian's murky gaze suddenly became clear. I stood up directly from the ground. Break and then stand. Nowadays, the various feudal lords in the Han Dynasty have formed a climate, and the emperor cannot command them at all. In the court, the aristocratic families were even more intertwined and had long neglected the emperor. Only this path, perhaps there is still hope. Wei Yuan spoke calmly without any fear. Firstly, as long as the 18 feudal lords propose to eliminate Dongzhuo and then establish Lu Bian will undoubtedly die. Secondly, there is no servant in this Hongnong Wang mansion, and my words will never be spread to the outside world. Lu Bian's powerful hand fell from Wei Yuan's arm. The whole person took a few steps back. Murmured in his mouth. There's no hope, father. My courtiers are incompetent. Sitting on the ground, crying loudly. Cai Yan fiercely pinched Wei Yuan and stared at him intently. You're crazy. How dare you say that? Wei Yuan dodged and walked up to Lu Bian, feeling relieved. Your Highness, the current situation is not your fault, it is the result of a century of accumulation that has been difficult to reverse. Lu Bian looked at Wei Yuan again as if grabbing a life-saving straw. Wei Qing. You must have a way. There must be a way. Looking at Lu Bian, who was in his teens, with a pitiful expression in his eyes. Wei Yuan couldn't bear it in his heart. Difficult, very difficult, very difficult. It can even be said that His Highness may not be able to see that prosperous era. Lu Bian let out a bitter smile. I have long underestimated life and death, but... Looking at Tang Ji on the side. Wei Qing, the general of Wei Qing on the eve of the night, drove out the Xiongnu for his ancestors and made contributions. Today, can I entrust Tang Ji to you? Wei Yuan was confused. What kind of thing? Sending my wife away. Is it so exciting? Wei Yuan waved his hand repeatedly. Your Highness, this joke is too big. You are a despicable commoner. Moreover, the Queen is still the current Emperor's sister. Law, just kidding, if you're willing to give it, I wouldn't dare to take it either. Lu Bian made up his mind and took out a jade belt from his pocket. The crystal-clear jade belt represents a symbol of identity. Why is this scene somewhat familiar? Wei Yuan looked at the crystal-clear jade belt, feeling somewhat familiar. Do both of you guys know how to do this? Without giving a few people time to react, Lu Bian bit his fingertips. Brush it, write a blood letter on the silk cloth, and stuff it into the jade belt. Wei Qing, this is a decree on clothing and belts, and it is also the only one that I can give to you. I hope you can take care of Tang Ji by looking at the marriage relatives of the Lu Wei family. As for the incompetent imperial brother, he chose to flatter Dongzhuo in order to survive. Losing Lu's dignity. Wei Yuan and Cai Yan were even more surprised when they heard this. According to historical records, it was precisely because of Lu Xie's intelligence that he was favored by Dongzhuo, who deposed the Long and established the Yang, and became Emperor Xian of Han. Is there a hidden truth behind this? The sound of armor colliding outside the mansion prevented Wei Yuan from asking in time. Hurriedly tied the jade belt around his waist and tidied up his clothes. I saw Zhonglan walking in with Li Ru and a group of armored soldiers. Hongnong Wang, the Prime Minister has something to discuss, please. He said it was a request, but those soldiers from Xiliang had already taken over. Two people dragged Lu Bian away. Li Ru. You. Do you still have any etiquette? Wei Yuan. You traitor. Lu Bian panicked and shouted loudly. Tang Ji was so busy that she was about to rush out, but was grabbed by Wei Yuan. Going out now means risking one's life. Li Ru looked at Wei Yuan and Cai Yan, gently shaking the black feather fan in his hand. The Hedong Wei family, a talented woman from the Eastern Han Dynasty, is indeed a talented and beautiful woman. Lord Xianghua cherishes talents the most. Let's go together. Wei Yuan's heart was extremely panicked. This is the first poisonous warrior in the early Three Kingdoms period. When he looked at the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com, he felt like he was facing a venomous snake. Your Highness praised me falsely. We will visit the Prime Minister another day. Wei Yuan really doesn't want to go, who knows if Dongzhuo will beat him up. Finally managed to avoid illness. But it fell into the hands of Li Ru. Wei Yuan couldn't figure out how it happened so coincidentally. Choosing a day is better than colliding with it, please. Li Ru's originally smiling face suddenly turned cold and he waved his hand. A few soldiers rushed over. Don't. Let's go by ourselves. Wei Yuan quickly waved his hand and followed Cai Yan behind Lu Bian. Cai Yan's hands were very cold and tightly clenched. Don't be afraid, with your husband around. Wei Yuan gently comforted while silently clicking on the beauty system in his heart. The worst outcome was to go from a 5-day tour during the Eastern Han Dynasty to a 6-day tour. But if you haven't even experienced opening a box, this journey is a complete failure. Open rare treasure chest, beauty points. 1 point, the blue box began to shake non-stop, with 3 colors flashing alternately. Blue, red, and gold. Blue only flickers for the longest time, followed by red, and gold only lasts for a moment. Wei Yuan also realized that this was smashing boxes. A rare treasure chest represents the worst reward and is also a rare level. As long as you hit it in red or gold, you can receive epic or legendary rewards. God bless. I am willing to exchange Mr. Chow's singleness for the golden legend reward. As Wei Yuan's mind moved, the box stopped shaking and the color finally fixed. Chapter 7. Opening the Beauty Chest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Wei Yuan's breathing was stagnant, and his pupils contracted violently. The original blue treasure chest has turned golden on the surface. Stay quietly in the light curtain, waiting for Wei Yuan to open. Along the way, Li Ru sat in the carriage with his eyes closed and his black feather fan in his arms. But the other few people were all looking flustered, especially Lu Bian. Just as I gave Wei Yuan a dress and an edict, Li Ru came from behind. Now he regrets why he was so reckless. If the edict on clothing belts is discovered, there is no doubt that one will die. King Hongnong, why are you sweating profusely? Are you feeling unwell or have a ghost in your heart? Li Ru's voice was like a venomous snake, dealing a heavy blow to Lu Bian's fragile psychological defenses. No. I'm just a bit stuffy. Lu Bian deliberately wiped the sweat off his face. If there's nothing else, it's good. When we reach the Prime Minister's front, we'll discuss important matters with King Hongnong. After Li Ru finished speaking, his eyes fixed on Wei Yuan and he stopped speaking. However, the chill in his words made Cai Yan shiver. It's okay. My father-in-law was a great scholar invited by the Prime Minister. I think the Prime Minister won't make things difficult for us either. Upon hearing Wei Yuan's words, Li Ru's eyelids trembled slightly. How could this person not be afraid at all? Is it possible that the intelligence is incorrect? The subtle relationship inside the carriage was thus balanced. Sir, the Prime Minister's mansion has arrived. Li Ru was not the first to get off the car, but said to Lu Bian. Please, King Hongnong. Lu Bian clenched his fists and stared at Li Ru intently. This is a great insult to him. Where is the reason for kings to get off first? Bite your teeth and get off the carriage. Alright, Miss Cai, you can take the carriage back to Cai's mansion later. After weighing the pros and cons, Li Ru ultimately decided to release Cai Yan. What about my husband? Cai Yan was anxious, even if she didn't enter the officialdom. As a talented woman in the Eastern Han Dynasty, I can also hear the meaning behind Li Ru's words. It's not easy, the two can stay together forever. As a result, due to his own reasons, Wei Yuan was actually harmed, just out of the wolf's den and into the tiger's mouth. Wei Gongzi. Of course, the Prime Minister has something to discuss with him. After speaking, Li Ru grabbed Wei Yuan's hand and forcefully pulled him off the carriage without giving them time to separate. Husband! Cai Yan shouted loudly. The carriage walked faster and faster, disappearing into Wei Yuan's sight. Interestingly, it seems that Prince Wei is not worried about his own safety. Looking at Wei Yuan's calm expression, Li Ru couldn't help but ask. Apart from waving goodbye to Cai Yan, Wei Yuan didn't mention a word. It's like the usual separation between husband and wife. Why do I have to worry? I'm not afraid of ghosts knocking on the door if I don't do anything wrong. Moreover, getting to know the Prime Minister is a blessing that many people dream of. After Wei Yuan finished speaking, he walked into the Prime Minister's mansion with his hands down. Within the Prime Minister's mansion, the soldiers of the Western Liang dynasty were lined up on both sides. The murderous aura on his body and the murderous look in his eyes caused the temperature of the entire Prime Minister's mansion to drop significantly. Liu Bian, who got off the car early, now has weak legs. If it weren't for the aura of the former emperor, it would have been difficult to move forward. Your Highness is feeling unwell, let the grassroots support you. Liu Bian looked gratefully at Wei Yuan. Thank you very much, young Master Wei. I blamed you wrongly. Liu Bian is not foolish, on the contrary, he is much smarter than Liu Xie. If Wei Yuan were really an insider of Dongzhuo's faction, he would never help himself at this moment. Wei Yuan did not respond to him, just placed Liu Bian's hand on his waist. Liu Bian's fingers immediately sensed something unusual. No jade belt. This is also what Liu Bian is most worried about. As long as there is no evidence, Dongzhuo dare not take the great injustice of the world and execute himself. The biggest handle is the belt edict just given to Wei Yuan. The frightened gaze turned into shock. The footsteps became powerful. This obvious performance made Li Ru, who had been observing later, once again puzzled. Zheng Tang. Dongzhuo sat in the main seat. On both sides were his capable generals. Lu Bu, who was 2 meters tall, immediately caught the attention of Wei Yuan. Hongnong Wang, we have something to ask you. Dongzhuo didn't even get up and ask directly when he saw Liu Bian arrive. I heard you have issued a decree to others to rebel, overthrow the court, and execute us. Because he learned that the jade belt was hidden by Wei Yuan, Liu Bian showed no fear. A bunch of nonsense. How could I issue an edict? Besides, I can't even get out of the gate of the royal mansion. How can I contact others again? Li Ru then took out a piece of silk paper and threw it on the table. Give it a hard slap. What is this? If it weren't for your edict, why would the feudal lords of the 18 route in the Kanto region gather at the sour dates? Liu Bian picked up the silk cloth and looked at it. The expression on his face went through disdain, questioning, excitement, and eventually turned into anger. Throw the silk cloth towards the sky and shout loudly. Father! You have raised a group of loyal ministers and generals for your children. They all wish their courtiers would die without a place to bury themselves. Wei Yuan doesn't need to look to know. The edict was a corrective edict, because Dongzhuo's sudden rise seized the fruits of the Yuan family's victory. No matter how well Dongzhuo shows in the later stage, it will be of no use. Because what the Yuan family wanted was to tilt power towards the court and become the new Huaxiong, to control the government. And Liu Bian became a sacrifice of the Kanto United Army. Because Liu Bian was not only the successor appointed by Emperor Ling of Han, but also deposed from the throne by Dongzhuo. This black pot cannot be avoided by Liu Bian. Only with Liu Bian's identity can they suppress Dongzhuo and become famous. At this moment, Dongzhuo noticed the calm and composed Wei Yuan. Looking at Li Ru in confusion, he said. Who is this person? I would like to inform you that he is. Wei Yuan's reaction was faster, and he immediately answered loudly. I am Wei Zhongdao, the second son of the Wei family in Hedong. I am the son-in-law of General Cai Yong and the husband of talented woman Cai Yan. It turns out to be the nephew of Zhongdao Xian. We heard Boji mention when he came to Luoyang. Find Shuyuan at www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Dongzhuo's attitude has eased a lot, after all, Cai Yong is considered his supporter. I only arrived yesterday and originally planned to visit the Prime Minister through my father.in.law. Unexpectedly, he was invited first by Mr. Li. Wei Yuan looked at Li Ru and deliberately emphasized the word, please. Oh. What's going on? Dongzhuo asked. En Xiang, Wei Gongzi was the person who came into contact with King Hongnong, so we brought him together. Li Ru used a black feather fan as a cover to cover up his mouth shape. According to Eyeliner, King Hongnong gave Wei Yuan something, so he brought it to Xiang. As for Cai Yan, you can rest assured that he has been sent back to the Cai mansion. Dong Zhuo nodded slightly and looked at Wei Yuan. Wei family kid, let's give you a chance. As long as you hand over what the Hongnong king has given you, we can give you a way out. Zhongdao couldn't understand why the prime minister would ask such a question. If he only heard one side of the story and took the opportunity to provoke Wei and Cai Yong, who would bear this crime? Wei Yuan once again moved out his backstage. Dear nephew, everyone present is your father-in-law's robe. If we don't find anything suspicious, we will apologize to Bo Jie. Dong Zhuo had great trust in Li Ru, so he naturally believed that there was a clue from Lu Bian on Wei Yuan's body. Then he said to Lu Bu, "My son, please go and search if there are any royal items on Prince Wei's body." Lu Bu responded. Standing in front of Wei Yuan, it was like a small mountain. As Lu Bu's search time continued to lengthen, Li Ru's expression also became increasingly ugly. Impossible. He definitely has something that Lu Bian gave him. Chapter 8. The Confused Li Ru. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Li Ru has absolute trust in his own ears and eyes, because they are all his raised dead warriors. Until Lu Bu inspected all of Wei Yuan's shoes, no clues were found. Li Ru panicked. An unprecedented panic. For a strategist, this is the greatest humiliation. Impossible. Li Ru patted the table and walked straight to Wei Yuan, beginning to carefully explore. Every inch of clothing has been touched, but nothing has been found. Mr. Li, do you need me to take off all my clothes and have you carefully check them? Wei Yuan did not struggle throughout the journey, but was very cooperative. The news Li Ru received was not wrong, and Lu Bian did indeed give Wei Yuan a dress decree. But the beauty treasure chest opened by Wei Yuan was actually a reward for the golden legendary quality. Due to the host opening the treasure chest for the first time, the maximum reward limit for this time is the golden legend. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the golden legend award. Storage space, 10 cubic meters, storage space. Can accommodate non-life characteristic items, this gave Wei Yuan the capital to be fearless. On the carriage, the jade belt edict was hidden in the storage space. Except for Wei Yuan, no one knows. Dear nephew, what is this called? It's all a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Someone, why don't you quickly serve tea to nephew Wei Xian? Dong Zhuo noticed that the situation was not right and kept trying to smooth things out. Lord Xianghua, since you have proven your innocence, I wonder if you will leave Prince Hongnong with me. Wei Yuan pulled up Lu Bian and questioned him. This. Dong Zhuo hesitated and looked at Li Ru. Li Ru nodded dejectedly. Killing a monarch is not abolishing an emperor, there is no evidence, even Li Ru dare not take the risk of the world's great injustice. Moreover, if Lu Bian is really killed now, it will give the Kanto coalition a legitimate reason. Of course, another day, we will go to apologize to Bo Jie. Dong Zhuo waved his hand and asked the soldiers of Xiliang on both sides to give way. Wei Qing, it's fortunate to have you today. Until leaving the Prime Minister's mansion, Lu Bian finally breathed a long sigh of relief. The situation that should have been doomed to death was actually survived by Wei Yuan's magical means. Looking at Wei Yuan with a grateful expression on his face. Your Highness, Zhongdao has a heartless request. Wei Yuan looked solemnly at Lu Bian and pleaded. Wei Qing, what's the matter? As long as I can handle it, I will definitely do it. Just now, being alone has no power, no one, and no money. Lu Bian felt a bit helpless as he spoke, feeling like crying. Zhongdao wants to invite His Highness to advise his father-in-law Cai Yong to stay away from Dong Zhuo and avoid trouble. This is why Wei Yuan is willing to take risks. Only Liu Bian, the deposed emperor, could make Cai Yong, a loyal minister of the Han Dynasty, leave Dongzhuo. As for Liu Xie, Dongzhuo's plaything, how could he possibly handle things for himself? This. Liu Bian asked inexplicably. Wei Qing, although Dong Thief is domineering, his Western Liang army is unparalleled in the world. Even if the Canto coalition is strong, it may not be able to shake Dongzhuo in the slightest. The implication is obvious. As long as Dongzhuo doesn't act foolish, he can sit steadily in Luoyang. His Highness's judgment is very accurate. It is true that the Canto coalition alone cannot confront Dongzhuo. What if Dongzhuo's backyard catches fire? Your Highness, don't forget the location of Hedong County. At the end, Wei Yuan's tone was already filled with murderous intent. Hedong County is located in the northern part of Zhili Prefecture, which can block the necessary path for the Western Liang army to retreat to Western Liang. Wei Qing. Could you possibly lead the army of Hedong to fight alone? Liu Bian felt that he must have been favored by his ancestors today. Not only did he not be killed by Dongzhuo, but he also gained the support of the Wei family. But reality is cruel, and Wei Yuan is not prepared to involve Liu Bian too much. Saying so much to him is nothing more than hoping that he can play his final role and persuade Cai Yong to leave Luoyang. In this way, the family lived peacefully in Hedong County, waiting for the opportunity to join Cao Cao, which was not beautiful. Your Highness, be cautious. Today's matter is related to the future of Han Dynasty. I hope your Highness will not talk to any third person. Liu Bian nodded excitedly, and his gaze towards Wei Yuan had completely changed. He asked. I understand, but how should I persuade Duke Cai? It's generous to go. Since the princess and Wenji are sisters, it's natural for His Highness to visit her father. In law. After speaking, the two of them walked towards the Cai mansion. How do you explain today's incident? Dongzhuo's face was gloomy because he had let Liu Bian go, and his mood was very bad. As we said before, just tell my son Feng to kill him first. As a result, the person who should have implicated Bo Jia along the way. In short, Liu Bian must die. Cut off the thoughts of those Canto aristocratic families. At this moment, Li Ru's mind had no intention of listening to these things, but was pondering where the problem was. Along the way, every move of Wei Yuan was under his own observation. He had no chance to throw away any tokens. I personally checked again and couldn't find any letters from top to bottom. Even Li Ru, a top strategist, couldn't imagine the magical storage space. Dongzhuo patted the table, which frightened Li Ru. And Xiang. I'll leave it to you to kill the Hongnong king. Tomorrow, we want there to be no Hongnong king in this world. After speaking, Dongzhuo left the main hall and drove the carriage to the palace, embarking on a one-night tour of the harem. Only the lost Li Ru remains. Brother Wenyu, why did my adoptive father have to kill King Hongnong? When there were only LV Bu and Li Ru in the main hall, LV Bu asked. General LV, if someone wants to avenge Ding Yuan, what should you do? Revenge. Then let's give it a try. Let's answer, do you agree with the painting of the halberd in the sky? Lu Bu was immediately angry, but he understood immediately. The uprising of the Canto United Army was not for the sake of King Hongnong. Finding Liu Bian at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com was just a cover. If Liu Bian were to die, only Emperor Xian would inherit the throne. The Canto coalition is a rebellion. I see, I understand now. Thank you, Brother Wenyu, for your clarification. After speaking, Lu Bu strode away with a meteor. You understand now, but who can solve my confusion? Li Ru shook his head, sighed, and whispered something. Cai Mansion. Cai Yan and Tang Ji were already sitting in the carriage, and Cai Yong stuffed big and small bags of gold and silver into them. Yenner, take the queen and seek refuge at the Wei family first. Also prepare them for the escape. Dad, please go with your daughter. When Cai Yan returned home and explained the situation, Cai Yong immediately realized the urgency of the situation. Firstly, he had already learned from Dong Zhuo that he had a plan to kill King Hongnong. Secondly, his son-in-law Wei Yuan was unexpectedly brought into the Dong mansion, which was quite unlucky. Surprisingly, Sanlai really has the deadly thing of a dress belt edict. My son-in-law, who has just recovered from a serious illness, will undoubtedly die. So immediately arrange for Cai Yan and Tang Ji to leave. As for himself, Zhe is ready to confront Dong Zhuo. My father is a middle-aged general in the Han Dynasty. How could he escape? Yenner takes good care of the queen. Dad will bring back Zhongdao's body even if he fights to the death. Cai Yong tearfully spoke to his servant. Escort Miss back to Wei's house. Staring blankly as the carriage gradually drifted away, Cai Yong let out a long sigh. Your father-in-law. Cai Yong listened to the sound for a moment, then followed it and looked. The expression on his face became shocked. Zhongdao. King Hongnong. Chapter 9. Wei Qing, Tang Ji, please give it to you. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the people who came were Wei Yuan and Lu Bian. I, Cai Yong, pay my respects to your highness. After Cai Yong was surprised, he immediately knelt down and nodded. Cai Gong, please get up quickly. Lu Bian didn't dare to accept such a big gift at this moment, so he quickly helped him up. Cai Gong, you have found a good son-in-law. Speaking, Lu Bian began to openly praise Wei Yuan. What quick thinking, young hero. What kind of courage is extraordinary, fearless in the face of danger. Zhongdao can be said to be the pillar of the Han Dynasty and the living general of cavalry. After a fierce compliment, Lu Bian finally got to the point. Duke Cai, are you a minister of the Han Dynasty? Nature. Duke Cai, are you willing to revitalize the great Han Dynasty? Nature. Duke Cai, please leave Luoyang immediately and leave your last destination for the loyal officials of the Han Dynasty. Cai Yong is confused again. What's the situation? What's wrong with King Hongnong? Father-in-law, your highness's intention is for you to immediately leave Luoyang, this place of dispute, find an official position, and revitalize the Han Dynasty. Wei Yuan explained it appropriately. Cai Yong's expression turned cold and he immediately realized that it was Wei Yuan's idea. But he actually moved the Hongnong king. Wait. Zhongdao, how did you come out of the Dong mansion? After being immersed in the officialdom for decades, Cai Yong couldn't figure out how to break the deadlock. Father-in-law, Rong Zhongdao will explain this matter in the future. The urgent task is for you to leave and seek an official position from Dong Zhuo. Stay away from the blazing mountains and seas of Luoyang. Wei Yuan is very anxious. Although Lu Bian was brought out by himself today, he cannot change the fate of his inevitable death. Moreover, capital relocation can also occur at any time. Then, if you want to leave again, there won't be enough time. Zhongdao, that's enough. Don't talk too much. Your Highness, Zhongdao spoke wildly, hoping you will redeem yourself. Cai Yong slammed the table and glared at Wei Yuan. He doesn't allow it, Wei Yuan said so to the great Han. Moreover, it was in front of Lu Bian. Unexpectedly, Lu Bian not only did not provoke Wei Yuan, but also stood in front of Cai Yong. Cai Gong, the words of Zhongdao are just my own thoughts. Nowadays, the great Han Dynasty is already critically ill, and those so-called governors, prefects, and imperial relatives are nothing but moths. They only think about themselves. Where else is this big guy? Lu Bian took Wei Yuan's hand and said affectionately. However, Zhongdao was the only loyal minister and good general who dared to speak the truth. So, Duke Cai, in the name of the Emperor of Han, I request that you leave Luoyang and leave hope for the future of Han. Cai Yong was completely shocked. Is this still the docile young emperor? I lead the decree. Suddenly, a large number of Western Yang soldiers entered the Cai mansion. Li Ru, holding a black feather fan, walked in quickly. With a gloomy expression, he bowed to Cai Yong. Hongnon Wang, please. Lu Bian was so scared that he took a few steps back. He didn't expect that Dong Zhuo wouldn't let himself go for a day. Li Ru. What are you doing? Cai Yong stood up and stopped the soldiers of Xiuyang who rushed forward. Master Cai, don't stop me. Today, no one can save King Hongnon. Although Li Ru said it to Cai Yong, his eyes were fixed on Wei Yuan. This young man who embarrasses himself in front of Dong Zhuo. Wei Yuan sighed in his heart, and Lu Bian could not escape the fate of poisoned wine. This storage space can only store dead objects. Even if he could store live animals, he wouldn't let Lu Bian use them. He won't tell anyone the biggest secret of the beauty system. Li Ru, I am a descendant of the Han royal family alone. How could Rong Heir and others be so humiliated? Since ascending the throne, Lu Bian, who had always been submissive, finally achieved a transformation after encountering Wei Yuan. Finally recognized the reality of the Han dynasty. Since only after breaking can one stand, then let the wine make the big man break even harder. On the last day of his life, Lu Bian stood up. Wei Qing, please. The only thing I can't let go of is Tang Ji. Please take care of her on my behalf. Your Highness. Cannot. Wei Yuan couldn't believe that Lu Bian was going to give Tang Ji to him. But Lu Bian waved his hand and pulled off his long shirt. Bite through his just-healed fingertips and write a divorce letter on his long shirt. Li Ru frowned and stared closely at Lu Bian, afraid that he would write anything unfavorable to Dong Zhuo. Until the completion of a divorce notice, Lu Bian's face had turned pale. On the golden long shirt, there are small red handwriting left. Zhongdao, please excuse me. After finishing speaking, he tidied up his clothes and walked out of the Cai mansion with square steps. Li Ru's eyebrows furrowed even tighter, and his sense of unease became more intense. Lu Bian's changes are too significant. But as soon as he thought about achieving his goal, he had no choice but to give up and closely follow Lu Bian. A generation of emperors, Han Shaodi Lu Bian, in the final moments of his life, preserved the dignity of the Han dynasty. What? Yener has left. It wasn't until Li Ru and others left that Wei Yuan noticed that the aroma in the courtyard had faded a lot. Not bad, it's been half a day already. Cai Yong's mood is very dull. The death of Lu Bian dealt a heavy blow to the already declining Han royal family. I have also made up my mind and immediately appointed myself as the governor of one side, as requested by Lu Bian and Wei Yuan. Complete the final task assigned by Lu Bian to oneself. Zhongdao, it has been decided by his father that he will propose to be promoted to the position of prefect tomorrow morning. Where do you think is suitable? Zhongdao. What are you going to do? Cai Yong was thinking about where to take office, but found that Wei Zhongdao had already led a horse out. Father-in-law, Zhongdao is going to protect Yener. Cai Yong stopped him with one hand. It's okay, Jili Prefecture is extremely safe, not to mention, there are more than 10 servants protecting it. Yener is absolutely flawless. Wei Yuan wanted to explain, but was pressed down by Cai Yong. Zhongdao, find the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com to stand tall and serve the country. How can you have a romantic relationship with children? Quickly say, let me choose where to take office for my father. You're not worried, I'm worried. You speak while standing, but your back hurts. If Cai Yan had any major problems, I wouldn't have to live anymore. Hedong County, Hedong County. Wei Yuan's mood at this moment is even more tense than going to the Dong mansion. Afraid that Cai Yan might be in danger. Lu Bian's fate has not changed on its own. What about Cai Yan? She was originally sent to Luoyang to avoid the invasion of the Xiongnu. Change her original fate. Unexpectedly, by chance, Cai Yan returned to Hedong County. Father-in-law, Zhongdao is really not at ease. Please forgive me. Just as Cai Yong was contemplating the situation in Hedong County, Wei Yuan dodged and ran out of Cai's mansion, riding a tall horse and galloping away. Yenner, you must not have anything to do. However, until it was dark, Wei Yuan did not see Cai Wenji's convoy. The speed of the carriage is definitely not as fast as I ride a horse. But why haven't you seen it yet? Yenner. Wei Yuan shouted loudly. The sound echoed non-stop in the valley. Yenner at this moment, the sound of horses panting faintly came from the mountains and forests on both sides of the official road. Wei Yuan was taken aback, quickly dismounted, and walked in the direction of the sound. Sound can be heard in the mountains and forests, but there are only two situations. The bandits who have become bandits and the Yellow Turban Army led by Huang Tian. Yenner, you must not have any trouble. Gradually, the prototype of a mountain fortress appeared in Wei Yuan's field of vision. The torches illuminated the lights of the mountain fortress, and more than 10 bandits were guarding the gate. Chapter 10. Going deep into counterfeits. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. After observing for half an hour, Wei Yuan's heart cooled. Because the carriage of Cai Mansion is parked in the mountain fortress. Good news. Yenner was not captured by the Xiongnu. Bad news. How can I rescue Yenner from the bandits' den? Glancing at my own panel. Remaining lifespan. For days, the safest way is to move reinforcements to Luoyang and send a large army to attack and break through the mountain fortress. Wei Yuan cannot determine the current situation of Luoyang. Perhaps, when I return to Luoyang, I will be directly targeted and killed by Li Ru. Fight it. Both sides are dead. Wei Yuan discovered that his prominent family background had no effect in front of the bandits. The only thing I can rely on is myself. Start beauty treasure chest. There are still 2 beauty points left, and Wei Yuan didn't hesitate to open them directly. Received ordinary reward. Danyang soldier *1, obtaining rare reward. Zhuge crossbow *10, Wei Yuan's luck is good, with 2 rewards, 1 white and 1 blue. Danyang soldier. How can you give it to me? Wei Yuan looked at the prompts from the light screen and said in confusion. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from behind. Who? Young Xia, don't be surprised. My name is Zhu Wei, and I intended to go to Yongzhou with my brother to do business. Unexpectedly, as I passed by, my elder brother was brutally killed by these mountain bandits in order to save me. Could it be that the young hero is also prepared to deal with these mountain bandits? A robust young man walked out of the bushes. Wearing only a cloth and blue shirt, with a thin complexion. Wei Yuan immediately realized that this was the Danyang soldier rewarded by the system. Just gave a reasonable reason. Of course, to be honest with the Zhu brothers, my wife was captured by these mountain bandits when I was in the middle of the Wei Yuan Wei Road in Xiahe East. If brother Zhu doesn't give up, you can join me in dealing with the bandits. Under the darkness. 2 figures cautiously approached the mountain fortress, holding a crossbow in their hands. Wei Yuan pointed to the 2 bandits at the outpost and made a beheading gesture. Zhu Wei nodded, raised Zhuge's crossbow, and aimed at a bandit. 2 people, 1 person, 1 arrow. The speed of crossbows and arrows is extremely fast, especially in close combat. 2 lives were quietly harvested. Immediately afterwards, Wei Yuan and Zhu Wei changed into the clothes of the bandits. Strolling confidently towards the Shanzhai. Night is the best protection. This is a mountain fortress with only over 100 people, mainly composed of the former Yellow Turban Army. Because the Shanzhai was just established, it did not attract the attention of the official army. Cai Yan and others were also too careless and were successfully attacked by bandits. Several servants of the Cai family, although usually obedient to their orders, left Cai Yan and Tang Ji at the critical moment of life and death, and turned around and ran away. As a result, the bandits not only seized money, but also captured Cai Yan and Tang Ji. Surprisingly, the gold and silver carried by Cai Yan were delicate and soft, making them worth thousands of gold. The bandit leader directly ordered that he would not return unless drunk. So, only Wei Yuan and heir could easily approach the knockoff. Brother Zhu Wei, I'm going to save people. You go to the back of the mountain stronghold and set fire to attract attention. Safety first, let's gather at the 10-mile shop. After speaking, Wei Yuan quietly walked into the stronghold holding Zhuge's crossbow. The interior of the mountain stronghold is extremely simple, with dozens of bandits lying in the spacious hall, all of whom are lying on the ground in a crooked state. The air was filled with a strong smell of alcohol and a foul smell of sweat. As Wei Yuan's mind moved, Zhuge's crossbow entered the storage space. Sneak along the wall and turn to the back of the hall. A faint aroma caught Wei Yuan's attention. Although the aroma is light, the taste is very abrupt. The fragrance of lilies on Tang Ji's body. This aroma has only appeared on Tang Ji. The subtle fragrance of plum blossoms contrasts sharply with that of Cai Yan. On the way, several seemingly drunk mountain bandits ignored Wei Yuan. He also raised his glass and led him to drink. Stinky woman. It fell into my hands, and you still want to run. Serve me obediently, maybe I can save your life. A bandit with a bare upper body was constantly shaking in front of Tang Ji. A pair of rough oily hands deliberately caressed Tang Ji's snow-white face. Although Tang Ji resisted, her whole body was tied up and she could only suffer for nothing. Damn it! Let go of me now. Tang Ji cursed loudly. This palace is Princess Hongnong. Aren't you afraid of death? I thought the bandits would be afraid. But the bandits' subsequent actions became even more rampant. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Hongnong Wang. I don't know what kind of king. I'm telling you, I'm the Yellow Turban Army. It's you guys who fought. She hugged Tang Ji's waist tightly, with a low voice. Unexpectedly, instead of killing the dog emperor, we caught the queen first. What an unexpected joy. Tang Ji kept struggling, her heart had already cooled. Lu Bian, the king of Hongnong, can't rely on it anymore. My sister Cai Yan's life and death are uncertain. In my mind, a shadow of Wei Yuan appeared unexpectedly. The slapping of Lu Bian made Tang Ji remember this young man. Faced with Li Ru without fear, Tang Ji had a fantasy. If Wei Yuan were here, I'm afraid he wouldn't have encountered such a great difficulty. Tears welled up from the corners of Tang Ji's eyes, but her gaze became even more resolute as she murmured. Husband, I will never embarrass you. Staring at the bandit, gritting his teeth, he shouted fiercely. Dog thief. Even if I turn into a fierce ghost, I won't spare you. Wei Yuan, still groping for direction, heard Tang Ji's voice. My heart panicked. These bandits are single dogs, not to mention beauties like Tang Ji. Even a sow, they have to reproduce. Following the direction of the sound, he ran quickly. I don't care if it will catch the attention of the bandits. Tang Ji is still like this, but what about her own Yenner? Yenner, you must not have anything to do. Zhuge held the crossbow in his hand. Princess, you are too naive. The bandits playfully caressed Tang Ji's body, while Tang Ji was tied to a stool with a cloth strip stuffed into her mouth. Want to die? How could it be? How can I bear to look for such a delicate beauty at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com? I kissed him fiercely. A greedy smirk flowed from his mouth. Tang Ji's face changed greatly and her head kept shaking. Confused, helpless, and disheartened. Tang Ji didn't give up and closed her eyes, tears streaming out from the corners of her eyes. Even if she wants to keep her innocence, she is powerless. Your Majesty, Tang Ji. The bandit's lewd laughter suddenly came to an end. Swallowing with a gurgling sound. He wanted to turn around and see what happened, but a silent arrow greeted him. An arrow hit the throat. An arrow hit the heart. With a splash. The bandit fell to the ground without breathing. Tang Ji, who was mentally tense, propped up her last bit of consciousness and vaguely saw a figure. With a handsome figure and a short crossbow in his hand, he eagerly shouted and ran towards him. Master Wei. After speaking, the whole person collapsed into Wei Yuan's arms. Princess. Princess. What about Yenna? Yenna. Wei Yuan shook Tang Ji, but Tang Ji was already unconscious. Helplessly pounding my chest with a sigh. The longer you stay here, the more dangerous it is to learn and the easier it is to be discovered. Grab Tang Ji's hand and carry her on her back. Tang Ji, who weighed only about 80 pounds, was not heavy, but the two spherical objects on her body were full of softness. Duong. A rapid sound of copper gongs echoed in the village. Immediately after, the noisy running sound grew closer and closer. Not good. It was discovered. Wei Yuan's secret path is not good, there is no place to escape.